everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tiffany Benson, one part of Team Benson, and today we're going to do a garden tour. Now, I have had a couple of garden mishaps with the sandstorm and then also with me failing to water on time. So growing a desert garden sometimes can be very, very difficult, but I promise you, you will get through it. Now, it's very beautiful today for some odd reason. It's like, it feels like fall, even though we know that this is not gonna last. Like, it'll probably be like 110, I don't know, probably next week. But I have my garden completely open because there's really no need for the shade cloth or anything like that because it feels really nice outside. So let's look at the first bed. So everything in here is going really good, but growing incredibly slow. I am going to start pulling the Swiss chard just because the flavor's kind of affected right now because of the heat, and it all tastes the same when I blend it up with an apple or an orange, but when I'm stir frying them by themselves, they taste a little blah. But the kale I'm going to leave, and my plan for this bed is this is where I'm going to plant all of the black-eyed peas. So we have the corn that is also growing nice and tall. It's getting there, guys. I think it's supposed to be like knee-high by the 4th of July or something like that, I heard. These are just the herbs that were up here that I pulled down because I am going to be making some new starts for all of these. All of these got burned in the sun really, really bad. But one herb that has been doing well are all of my sage plants. This is the sage plant that I repotted that was by the beans. It was kind of outgrowing its space, so I put it in a bigger pot, and it's been growing even taller since then. The garden's got some new flowers, so those are nice and gorgeous. And then also the squash plant I lost and the tomato plant I lost. But I did finally finish putting together this one, and it has some new flowers and some herbs growing in it. And then this one's doing okay. I'm going to start working on this one next, and the basil is still doing nice, and this sage is doing amazing. Artichoke, not so confident on, but the onions are also doing pretty well too as well. Now, one herb we're going through a lot of right now, so I'm happy I have a lot of it in my garden, is sage. For those of you guys that don't know, sage is a very cleansing herb, and sage is a way to start prepping your immune system for the typical flu and cold season. So I cook a lot right now with sage, which is nice because sage is in abundance right now. It does well in the heat, it does well in Arizona, and those plants, I can cut them back, and within a week and a half, they're completely full, big, giant bushes again. So cooking the fish and the chicken and everything, even sage tea, we use a lot of sage because we want to prepare our systems for the winter. So now we'll go over here to some better news. My shishito peppers are doing really, really well. This one has completely come back, guys. All the peppers are coming in normal. We are actually going to have shishito peppers for dinner because I'm going to pick those ones, and then I'm also going to pick these ones. My parsley is coming back in really nicely. I pruned it back, and now it came back in very thick and full. And then the tomato plant still has the one little baby that is growing so slow on it, but it has a little baby on it. And then I have the bush Goliath. It's starting to grow up and become a little bit bigger. And then my strawberries, these ones once again are doing well. They're doing great. They're giving me one strawberry at a time. This one hasn't started flowering yet, and this one is like the little strawberry that could. It gets attacked by the sun, and then it'll sprout out a green one. So we'll see how that one continues to grow. Over here too, these are my Cherokee purples. Now, this tomato plant originally got really badly beaten up the first time the shade cloth wasn't on my garden, and it had some tomatoes on it, and now they're starting to turn red, well, like a pinkish red. So Once these tomatoes are ready, I'm actually going to take this tomato plant up because my eggplant really needs to get in this space. It's starting to outgrow everything. The thyme in here is now bushing back out and doing really, really well. This rosemary is doing amazing. This is almost year 2 for this rosemary, guys, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I cut it back, dry it, and then it grows right back. My scarlet runner beans, though, they're done. They are done. To grow scarlet runner beans forever now. Like, I've been really trying, but the first time they got destroyed in the hailstorm, and now they just got attacked by the sun. Like, really, scarlet runner beans? I just want to grow and eat you. That's all I want to do. So as you can see, scarlet runner beans are done as well. But I did hear that in my growing guide, yard-long beans will grow really well in the summer. So I am ordering some of those from Baker Creek, and I will be planting those in this spot. Now, my squash over here is doing really well, but as you guys remember, I said that I do not prune my plants. Now, if you come down here, you can see that this is now dried up all the way to the main stalk. So what I can do is go ahead and cut this off, and these ones, I'm just waiting for them to dry up because I want to prune them down once they get to this point. Now, this is a personal opinion. I don't like to cut these because, as you guys can see, they're hollow. So if I were to cut this, it would leave a hole in my plant. And like I said, it's a personal opinion that I don't prune my squash plants. At least wait until they actually prune themselves, meaning that the whole stem is dried out and it won't leave a hole when I cut it. I just personally feel that since the squash plant is hollow, that things can get inside of it. And I know we don't deal a lot with squash bugs here, but it was something that my mom dealt a lot with when we were in Kentucky and she gardened there. And also my grandma mentioned it too, that sometimes we do get them, so it kind of helps prevent that. But what is doing amazing is this Armenian cucumber. If you guys want to grow a cucumber in Arizona, this Armenian one is the one that can take the heat. Guys, it's so pretty. Now, this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to put in the arch, because how gorgeous is this? I've seen so many arches on YouTube, and I thought, if I could only have one of those. And I was able to find mason ladders, which are used for masonry work, and I kind of just bunched them together, and it made a perfect arch that I could then just put in with some T-post. I do have a video on that, so if you guys want to see that video, I will link it in the description below. But look at that. Look at that gorgeous little cucumber. These are so nice and it's so beautiful, and this plant really just can take the triple-digit weather that we have here in Arizona. Another plant that does really well is my cantaloupe. This one is a Minnesota midget, and as you can see, we have a cantaloupe right over there, and it is just doing really well. And this one doesn't even get full shade because it's a gap right here, so it does pretty good over here, and it's already fruiting and the bees love it, and it's just a really beautiful green plant to have. Alright guys, so now for some sad news. So this bed behind me has always done amazing. It's been doing so well because it is the bed that is right next to my worm bin. Well, this end of this bed was not fully protected because it was the only part of my garden that did not have the regular 40% shade cloth. It actually just had a fabric on it because I ordered it from Amazon, and that has been the one package that UPS has lost, and it has been lost for the past, like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks. So I've been waiting for that little piece of shade cloth to cover that part of it, so I put up just the only fabric that I had, which was kind of like a sheer white one. Well, when the sandstorm came, it kind of blew it all off before I even got out here. So, because it was kind of windy that earlier that day, well, it was blowing like really hot wind, and I don't think that it was dark enough in order to protect my squash plants. So it's gone. So this is always one of those like garden just things that make you want to cry, because that squash plant had already produced, and there was 2 of them over there, and it already produced so many squash, like they were just coming out of the woodworks, and it was doing so well. Well, the problem is that poor little squash plant, once the heat got to it, it kind of attacked pretty much the tops of it where the flowers were, and then when the sandstorm rolled in, it just didn't have, I guess, enough water in the plant itself, so it just really dried up and crisped up and was done. So also in this wonderful bed, this is where my ants decided that they wanted to attack my okra. So I did a video in yesterday's video of when I announced the 1,000 subscriber giveaway, which is really, really exciting. I'm so happy for Maggie. But I did a video on how to get rid of ants. And this is something that I watched on the In My Gardeners YouTube channel, and it's been working. So I put out an example so that you guys can see kind of what you could do in order to not put anything directly onto your soil, but still get rid of the ants. Now, the other thing that happened is that if you guys watch my video on the Dollar Tree items that I got, I was so excited to put in the flower pots that were hanging. I was so excited that I went to Home Depot and I got some lavender, which I have not grown lavender successfully in my garden. But I thought, since it's out, it would be a great day. The bees were all over it, and I thought this is going to be nice. Well, this is the lavender plant. What I did not notice on that lavender plant when I was super excited about it and thrown it into the bag was that it was covered in spider mites. Lovely. Lovely. So normally I quarantine all of my plants whenever I buy them from a box store, because usually there are something wrong or something going on with them. And the eggplant that I showed you that I have been babying and kind of quarantining and pruning to get the spider mites off of that one, I didn't realize spider mites were also all over that lavender plant. So when I put it right next to the okra plant in my bed, one of them got infected by spider mites. So a lot went on in this poor little bed. But we're gonna show you guys. So this is the little guy that was infected, and as you guys can see, let's see if I can get a close-up of it, but it's still infected. There are webs right here, and if you flip this over, there are spider mites on it. So this okra plant I might end up losing, which is fine because I do have a backup okra plant right there. I'm going to be careful not to touch anything. And all of my other okra plants behind it are doing really, really well. So I'm trying to make sure that these ones, none of the spider mites on this one touch any of those. And so I'm very, very careful about washing my hands when I touch this one, and when I prune this one, I disinfect the scissors with alcohol too as well, just so that I don't spread the spider mites. I'm trying to save it, but I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna have to take this one up. I'm pretty sure that there's still time in the season to put down another seed, so I might put down another okra seed and just kind of see what happens. Now, for the borax and sugar, as you guys can see, I still do have a couple of little ants in here. They're all coming up from this back side of this fence here from my neighbor's yard. So what I did is I put the borax and sugar mixture on top of some wax paper. And as you can see, all of these ants are coming in here, they're eating it, and they're dying. But what they're not doing is going up on my okra plant. So they were gone for about 4 days, and then I saw a couple this morning, so I put this back out today, and I'm pretty sure that this will kind of cure and get them gone for the remainder of the week. Now this process of getting rid of the ants seems to be working really, really well. The problem is that the ant bed is not in my bed. The ant bed is in my neighbor's yard. So I think I am going to try just knocking on their door and being like, here's some borax and sugar water. Please put this in your backyard. And maybe that will cure it. But for right now, I'm putting it as close to the wall as I can so that hopefully some ants will survive and take that borax and sugar water back to the queen. Because once you kill the queen, then that's supposed to make the plant or the ant bed completely go away. Now, right now, one of my garden's pride and joys is this cucumber plant. It is starting to grow really, really wild, and this one was all the way over here. I think I'm gonna put some chicken wire along this post and see if I can get it to grow up this post, and it'll just make it wider. But it's growing really, really well. It is now touching the arch. So it's up in the arch now, and I'm just going to let it continue to grow. Now this was supposed to be a space master that they said wouldn't get over 2 feet. I feel like they lied. So one thing that did survive the sun damage though, guys, was this lonely little bean plant that I put in here. This one is a Kentucky Wonder Pole Bean that I had just stuck in here because I had an extra one, and it's already halfway up the arch. So right now, this is my only surviving beans in the garden, so we'll see if hopefully it'll hang on. So my poblano peppers over here are growing into little giants. I'm expecting some poblano peppers by the fall because that's usually when they come in. And guys, my mighty crop with this bush cucumber, now I thought this one was a space master, but I looked at my notes and it's actually the pickling bush, which are the same one behind the squash plant. Now the ones behind the squash plant aren't giving me as many cucumbers as this one, and I think it's because it's just really, really able to grow straight. This one is actually even giving me more cucumbers than this giant beast, and once again I think it's because it just allows the bees to really get underneath there because I can basically stretch the plant out. Now another sad story, guys. My green beans are now gone. So I pulled them all up and I'm starting to prep these pots again so that I can get something else in there. I feel like this should be one of those moments where I tell every new gardener here in Arizona that it's not always like this. This was an incredibly weird, early, hot summer. Like last summer and all the summers that I've gardened here with my grandmother were never like this. But you know what? We're working through it, and if this is your first year, imagine how amazing you're gonna be your next year. Okay guys, and then over here we have the jalapenos. So jalapeno, and down here, I think it's a plant that I don't show as much because it's way back here in the back, but this is the cayenne pepper. And it has actually a ton of peppers on it. So I'm excited because I plan to dry this one. So now we'll step in here to the little Team Benson nursery. This is one that also, I'm glad I let it sit because it also had spider mites on it, guys. So I'm letting I'm kind of pruning it as it grows to try and hopefully get rid of the spider mites. And it was a Bonnie plant, and then also this Bonnie plant also had spider mites on it. This was the one that was the worst one. So as you can see, as I'm pruning it, they're starting to get a lot better. So I'm going to take off this big leaf because I think this is the next one that needs to go, and maybe these two, and then hopefully we'll see how it is and see if maybe it'll be better by then. And then I have the ant mollies that have just, nothing's wrong with those ones. I grew those ones from seed. I just stuck them here and they did amazing, so I'm just letting them continue to do amazing. So the last thing we have over here, guys, is my eggplant, which I don't want to touch after touching the other eggplants now that I think about it. But this one is starting to put on some new leaves. Now when I'm watering this one, it's going straight through the pot, which is one of the key signs of that it needs to either be up potted or put into the ground. So I'm just waiting for those tomatoes to turn purple, and this is the one that's going into the ground. This basil plant needed some more water, so it does really well. It's just drooping right now because it needed water. And then this is the sage plant that I had uprooted and put into a pot. And as you can see, we've been using this one the most because it's right here by the door, so it's easiest to grab. But it's put on a lot more new leaves. Like, they are all along the branch here. Alright guys, so I just took a quick minute to go ask my neighbor if they had ants, and apparently, yes, he has been spraying his backyard for ants, and now they were coming over to my yard. So I did ask him if I could put down some borax and sugar water mixture, and he said yes, that I could do that. So I did that, and I'm hoping that that cures the problem. So one of the things I just really want to point out, guys, is that when you grow in a urban setting where you're maybe in a condo or an apartment or a townhome, remember that sometimes it's not everything that you're doing to your growing space. You have to think maybe what your neighbors are doing to their growing space too, because you guys share the same land. So sometimes it's just as easy as going over and asking, hey, can I do this? This is a nice organic way. And if they say yes, then life's good. So I'm now back here in my favorite spot of the garden. I'm actually just going to sit here for a little while and just watch the plants move because I am that gardener. But until next time, guys, grow yourself a garden, because even a small space can provide you with tons of food. Bye, guys.